This episode is for my fellow ADHDers that have a ever-growing list of side hustles that they've bought all the supplies for, completely and thoroughly planned out every intricate detail, but never actually launched. Welcome to episode 8 of the ADHDollars podcast, the podcast where we help ADHDers change their relationship with money by tapping into their unique abilities to launch side hustles and then manage that money effectively. I'm Shane G. I'm an ADHD money coach, and I'm super excited to break down today why ADHDers are so good at buying the supplies, planning for, coming up with ideas for various side hustles, but never actually getting them off the ground. 2 episodes ago, I talked about how research indicates that ADHD brains are actually rather well equipped for entrepreneurship. So then, if that's true, you're probably saying, Shane, why can't I launch one? Well, let's first talk about what we mean by entrepreneurship and what an entrepreneur is, right? Entrepreneurship is the ability to come up with ideas, the ability to see problems and have solutions that can be monetized. Entrepreneurs are the people that are the idea people. And if you look at a number of businesses that had founders that are truly entrepreneurs, they often remove themselves sooner rather than later from key operating positions. So they even stopped being a CEO, like Bill Gates did. He removed himself from being the CEO at one point, still stuck around, still provided technological guidance and strategy, let him be an idea person. So when it comes to ADHD, we are great at that ideation piece, that I see a problem, we can solve it, we can make money on it. What our brain is not so geared towards is the operational parts of a business. And by that, I mean the legal stuff, getting the LLC, doing all the paperwork, the accounting, payroll, marketing. We're good at the creative stuff, right? The tactical things of getting the copy exactly right, the logistics of getting the emails out on time and all those things, not so much. So a lot of the operational things is where it starts to fall apart for us, right? In large organizations, we can do very well because we can get into roles where we are the idea person. If you're starting something as a partnership and you have someone else that's very operational, then you can be the idea person and they can execute the operations. However, for most of us, we are looking at a side hustle, right? That's not necessarily something that you commonly start with a partner on. That's usually a solopreneur type thing where you're a single person really filling all the roles. So you have to be able to do some of the operational things. So in this episode, I want to focus on 2 of the largest causes of ADHDers to not launch their side hustle and break down for each one what you can really do. And what inspired me to make this video was I posted a TikTok video on how your ADHD brain lets you buy all the supplies and then stops. It ghosts you. That video, as of the time of recording this, has over 37,000 views. To give you context, a good video for me on TikTok is usually around 1,000 views. I get excited really when they go over 500 because 500 has kind of become my baseline of I publish something and it gets views. And full disclosure, for those of you just joining in, this whole me being an ADHD money coach, me helping people holistically with their money, but by leaning in on these traits that we have for side hustling is my latest side hustle. Okay. I still work full time. I'm doing this on the side because I'm realizing there is demand for this and there's hundreds, thousands, sorry, hundreds, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people out there coaching on side hustling, on starting businesses. But when I add ADHD into that search query, the number of results dramatically reduces. So this is a space that we need people to help share what's worked and what hasn't worked. My background is that I have been ADHD side hustling for over 7 years now, probably going on 8, somewhere in there. I've done a number of different side hustles. I've got a few going on now. And so I am simply sharing what has worked for me, what I figured out in failing, in being successful, in just doing this along with you. And some of the challenges that I'm going to talk about in this episode, I'm facing right now because I'm working on an ADHD side hustle starter kit. After that video went, into the 30,000s, I'm like, well, there's some demand here. Let's lean in on this and let's see how I can help people and expand my audience. And I was like, a lot of them in the comments are saying, yes, I relate to this. I feel this, but what do I do? Like, I'm not looking for someone else who just shares my feelings. I want advice. And there's no way with TikTok videos I could give all that. Even in podcast form, I'm going to attack some of that in this episode. I can't fully share all the knowledge I have there. And that's where I'm working on this kit. So if that kit sounds of interest to you, it is going to be free for those that sign up before I launch it. I don't know exactly when I launch it. I'm literally going to hyper focus my way through it right after recording this episode. And as soon as it's ready, I'm going to launch it. Sometime in the future, I may attempt to monetize it. Again, I'm still figuring this all out. And we'll see what I do there. But if you do want to get it and you do want to get it free, go to Shane, G as in George, .coach/kit, KIT. That will be in the description of the podcast here. And just give me your email. That's all it is. And you will get an email with this once it's available. You will very shortly after signing up get my freebie of 10 ADHD friendly side gigs, which I talked about in a previous episode as well. But you'll get a copy of that freebie while you wait for me to finish the kit. And when I say wait, this isn't weeks and months. Might knock it out this weekend, which actually means it would launch shortly after this podcast goes live, but within 3 to 5 days of when this podcast goes live at the most. So the Friday of from when I dropped this podcast on Monday, August 18th, the kit will be out there. So if that's of interest to you, check it out. And now enough with my little PSA advert, personal story. Let's get back to it. So the video that I dropped that got over 37,000 views focused on the common thing. Clearly, it's common enough if 37,000 people are relating to it, of I bought everything for my side gig, right? So why does that happen? Why do ADHDers buy everything? And then you've got everything that you need. You've got all the equipment. And when I say buy everything, we're not talking about, oh, I went out and spent $100. People are sharing stories of spending thousands of dollars. People, are sharing stories about leasing storefronts for their business. I think someone commented on, one that I remember is someone that said they got a whole barbershop set up, right? These are significant investments we're talking about that are being made, and then the momentum's not there. And this is not anything wrong with you. This is not an issue of motivation. It all goes back to the dopamine. So if you remember what we talked about on my episode with dopamine hits, free dopamine hits, right? The reason ADHDers are prone to impulsive shopping is we are dopamine deficient. we do not produce, our brain, I should say, does not produce enough dopamine. So we're constantly seeking it. Well, when you go down this path of creating a side hustle, if that side hustle needs you to buy things, the minute you realize, oh, I'm starting a side hustle, I need to buy things. Well, you've just given your brain permission to go on a dopamine hit spree. Dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit, right? You're getting hits every single item you list out. You're buying them, you're getting hits. Your brain is getting dopamine overload. And then it hits the day that you actually have to make a sale, bring in some money, do a little bit of work. Well, none of those activities give you dopamine. If you're lucky enough to get a really quick initial sale, that can give you a dopamine hit. But even if it does, one sale does not give you the equivalent dopamine hit of 15 or 20 independent purchases that you made getting ready for your business. So you hit what I call the dopamine wall. Or sorry, the dopamine cliff. You fall off of it, right? You've been going up, 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 up on this dopamine high, and then boom, you just fall. And for most businesses, there is a period of time that it takes for your business to get out there, for people to know about it, and for people to actually make a purchase and give you any dopamine. So you literally go from dopamine high to regular baseline dopamine deficiency, and it is a huge cliff to fall down, and you suddenly have no sense of urgency, no motivation, and the side hustle dies. You've all the stuff, but the side hustle dies. So what can we do about that? Well, there's three big things as I think about it. One is actually, before you start, gut check if the side hustle you are about to embark on is ADHD friendly. Is it a side hustle that actually can work for an ADHD person? And I've talked previously about what can work in my episode on 10 ADHD friendly side hustles. So go check it out if you want more information on that. But if you go down the path of the wrong side hustle, it's not that an ADHD person couldn't do it, but you need to understand you are creating a very significant hill that you're going to have to overcome, maybe even a mountain at that point. All right. And if you do not already have a few successful side hustles that you've done, it's not a good place to start. You need to start with one that's ADHD friendly. And the biggest thing here, since we're talking about the dopamine cliff, is a side hustle that gives you pretty quick feedback loops, because those feedback loops telling you you're doing a good job, meaning I'm getting sales, I'm seeing money in my bank account, those things give you dopamine. And those things will take you from falling off this cliff to starting a hike back up. The second thing to do with this is create a task list that is stupid simple. And by stupid simple, what I mean is the task of open my Etsy shop is too big. That could take you several days. And over the course of those days, you're not getting any dopamine, because the task you set out, the bar that you set for you to get this sense of achievement is, I need to have my full Etsy shop up and published and live. It sounds simple. Etsy tries to make it simple because that's their value proposition. That's how they get people out there, and they only make money when you make a sale, really. But there's still a lot of steps, particularly for an ADHD brain that is executive dysfunction. Setting up an Etsy shop is probably 10 to 12 discrete steps. So a stupid simple task is decide my first product I'm going to list. Pick my Etsy shop name. Write the description of the product. Take photos, or if it's a digital project, create photos of the product, right? Sign up for Etsy. Fill out my business information. Stupid, simple tasks. And after you complete each one, you need to go to the checklist and check it off. And you need to have a mini celebration. You also need to put in rewards. So maybe not after each stupid, simple task, you have a big, huge reward. This isn't an excuse to spend extra money. Maybe you just clap, you cheer, you share it with someone, right? the excitement of doing it. And then when you hit a major milestone, like having your Etsy shop listed, you give yourself permission to treat yourself. Maybe you get to go out to dinner to your favorite restaurant. Or something else. Again, not spend a lot of money, but give yourself permission to do something and make it an event, because it is. And then that'll give you that dopamine. The other thing to do here is to have a buddy. Have someone that is going to stick with you. Have someone that is going to be there to help give you a dopamine hit, help cheer you on. Simon Sinek, who's a speaker on leadership and business development, and really, I'd call it human relations, talks about the fact that there is research that has determined that the difference between someone who is successful in a career, a new business launch, an endeavor of any kind, and not, oftentimes the difference is one person. That one person in their life that cheered them on. That one person that was there when everyone else said, you're crazy, this is never going to work. And that cheers you on over the negative voices in your head, right? So find that person. If you need some help finding that person, I am working on establishing a Facebook group called ADHD Side Hustle Club. The group's created. I'm not working on it in that sense, but it only has about, I think, 10 people as of the recording of this podcast. So I'm looking to grow that into a supportive community where ADHDers can help each other stay on task, help motivate each other, and then also share tactical tips and tricks of how to overcome some of the more operational, boring, uninteresting parts of a business by automating and systematizing it. And you can check out the link below, or just go to Facebook and search ADHD Side Hustle Club. And please join in. We need to grow it a bit bigger for it to really achieve its mission, but I'm going to be very active on there. But I'd love to have a group of cheerleaders helping us all start and stick with our side hustles. But that brings us to the final item to help you here, and that is ensuring that you don't let yourself get bogged down with the boring parts, right? So accounting is one a lot of people, even non-ADHDers, do not enjoy about their business. Well, accounting can be mostly automated, right? Set up a dedicated checking account, link it to a accounting software that can automatically import the transactions. The days of manually entering them are long, 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 long gone. When it manually imports, or when it, automatically imports them, it will categorize them. And that's really what accounting is, right? There's other parts of that some would call accounting. I call it financial management, where you're looking at your profit loss, all those kinds of things. But the core function of accounting, or at least the bookkeeping side of it, should mostly be automated. You will probably once a month have to check in for some transactions that were not automatically categorized, but you can usually do it in bulk. Like generally it's, oh, I don't recognize who this vendor is, so I don't know what category it is. Well, that vendor is probably the same category for everything that you buy from them. So then you can do a bulk change and put in a rule in the future to auto categorize. So where you can automate, systematize, I'm going to start dropping on my YouTube some videos about how to automate and systematize some of the key operational things to business in order to help you really focus on the things that are fun and that give you the dopamine. So that was number one. Let's talk about the second reason ADHD businesses don't launch. And that is what I call the perfectionism wall. ADHD brains have a habit, particularly with side hustles and other things in life, but particularly with side hustles, of wanting everything to be perfect before you get your first customer, before you make your first sale, before you even create an online presence, before you tell anyone about it. They are doing this as a protection mechanism. This is your brain trying to protect you. ADHD brains feel rejection much stronger than our non-ADHD counterparts, our neurotypical counterparts. So businesses fail a lot. Side hustles fail a lot. Your brain is trying to protect you from feeling that failure. And in doing so, it's forcing you to make everything perfect. Let me let you in on a little secret. You don't become a business owner when you've made your website. You don't become a business owner when you've filed for the business with the government, when you have an LLC, which, by the way, you don't need to have an LLC to start. You don't become a business owner when you have 5, 10, 20,000 followers on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it may be. You become a business owner when someone hands you money for a product or service you're offering, period. You can look like a business, but if you've never made a sale, if you've never brought in money, you are not a business owner. So perfectionism is protecting you from rejection. It's protecting you from that feeling. But the way in which it's doing it, it's actually putting distance between you and the action that needs to happen, the event that needs to occur for you to actually be a business owner. You're a business owner when you make your first sale. So, what do we do to get past this? We delay. Most of the things that you are planning to do to create your business don't need done before you make a sale. So, the goal here is to make progress imperfectly, right? So, let's say, for example, you are selling some type of digital product on Etsy, or you're making some, I don't know, collectible item that you're selling on Etsy. The person buying it does not care that there's a typo on your website. If they found you on Etsy, they may not even be looking at your website. They don't care that there's a typo in the description. They don't care that out of the 10 photos of the product, one of them looks a little pixelated. They don't care. They care about what you're selling. They care about whether they're interested in it. They care about whether the price is affordable, whether the price seems reasonable. That's what they care about. They care about how quickly they can get it shipped to them. They care about the price of the shipping. They care about how this compares to other items like it. That's what they care about. They don't care about whether you have an LLC with the government. They don't care about whether your chart of accounts is the most beautiful chart of accounts ever for your type of business. They don't care. And it won't stop them from making a sale. So when you are planning out your business, when you're making your task list, when you're figuring out what you need to do, make your full list, because your ADHD brain is going to hyper-focus and want to do it. Make your full list. Then you need to go through with a highlighter or with a checkbox, or if you've done it digitally, you can just highlight the cells in Excel. What are the tasks that you need to make your first sale? The minimum things you have to do. So I'm a product manager by day. We call it a minimum viable product. What is the smallest amount of software I could deliver that would let us see if people will actually use this, if it actually works, right? You want to do that with your business. You want to deploy the minimum viable structure. So let me let you in on a little secret. You don't need to have something to sell to make a sale. You don't. And in many cases, it's best if you wait. So you're probably thinking, okay, Shane, you're selling digital stuff. You're a coach. You make a sale, you schedule a meeting, and you get up there and you talk to people and you share some materials, but you're not selling a tangible thing, whether it be digital or physical. It's very different. Well, it's not, right? And the key here is what we call a pre-sale. So you have an idea for a physical product. Okay, cool. Pre-sell it. Go ahead, bump the table, excuse that. Go up, make your Etsy listing for the item. Call it a pre-sale in the title. Put the fulfillment time out several weeks, right? If it's a physical product and it's going to take you 3 weeks to make it. Put the fulfillment time out at 5 weeks, right? Give yourself a buffer. And then once you've made a sale, you go and get the stuff, right? Or set your threshold. Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Don't set it 100. That's crazy. But even 2 or 3 people buying it proves out that it's real, proves out that it's worth your time and your investment, right? For the most part, when you're talking about physical products, you can go get the supplies to make it within a 5-week window. Now, are there some people who are not going to buy it because they see it's 5 weeks for delivery? Potentially, if there's a lot of competing products that they can get faster. If you've truly found a unique niche where you've got a mode of protection, there's not a lot of people that can deliver it in the same way, you really do something unique that will give your side hustle, your business staying power, then yes, people will do it if you make it clear that you're accepting pre-orders, you're making this, it's a brand new product, it's coming out. You can turn the fact that you don't actually have the product ready to sell into marketing that makes it sound novel and new and exciting, right? Digital products, you can do the exact same thing. Don't make the product, do a pre-sale. And with digital products, you can potentially even offer a discount to say the first 5 people, right? And then once you hit those 5 people, you actually make the product and you roll it out in 3 or 4 weeks. So when you do a pre-sale, very important thing, collect the money now. If you don't get enough interest and you don't make it, just refund it and tell the person, hey, I just didn't get enough interest for it to be economically viable. Really, really, really appreciate your support, right? And then if you end up doing a different product, offer them a discount on that if they come back. Keep them engaged with you, right? If it's a similar type product that would be within the same niche, the same focus or interest area of a customer. Pre-sale. Don't go and stand up a full business without doing it. Now, if you're doing something that requires a storefront, that could be challenging to do. You may actually need the storefront if location is really big on it. Now, I do question though, if you're starting with something that needs a storefront, is that really a side hustle? And maybe it's not. Maybe you're saying, no, Shane, I'm not trying to do a side hustle, but your content is relevant to what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to do a full-fledged business that'll be my main job, career, etc. And that's perfectly fine. But to the extent that you can, figure out if you can pre-sale. If you can't pre-sale, that's fine too. You want to do the lowest number of steps. Buy the lowest amount of stuff. Put in the smallest amount of time before you know this is going to work. So even if you're building a storefront, yes, you have to give it character. You have to give it personality. But it doesn't need to look like your grand permanent vision, right? Think of if you go to buy a house or you go to rent an apartment. You don't reject it because everything's not the exact way it'll look after you've been there for 6 months and you've hung up the artwork, you've bought the furniture you want, right? And you can phase that in over time. You can have very viable businesses that grow and expand over time. And it actually can create a really cool emotional connection with your customers if they feel like they were a day 0 or a day 1 OG and they got to see how your business has grown and evolved and expanded. So let's wrap this up because I'm getting to that 28-minute mark where I'm already probably losing some of you. Number 1, we have the Dopamine Cliff. This is where you've done all of the exciting stuff. You've done all the planning. You've done all the shopping. You've bought all the supplies. And then you hit the reality of, crap, I got a side hustle to run here. And you just fall off of it. Keep the dopamine hits going. Second, perfectionism. It's your ADHD brain trying to protect you from rejection because we know how strongly it feels. But guess what? If you keep trying to make your business perfect, you will feel that rejection sometime down the road when you look back at or open the closet that has all these supplies you bought for this side hustle that never went anywhere. And that rejection is going to feel worse. I know because I felt it. I also know because that wasn't people rejecting you, right? People rejecting you hurts, very much so. But you know what hurts even more? You being the one that rejected yourself. You being the one that didn't let yourself even see whether people were going to do it. You not knowing what this could have been. That will feel 10 times worse. So reduce the amount of stuff you buy up front, reduce the amount of work you do until you know that there's a market for this, that it's going to work, right? And then finally, to wrap this all up, I just want to say that I firmly do believe that entrepreneurship is one of the areas where ADHD is a superpower. It really is. We can achieve what our neurotypical friends cannot. We can take it further, we can make it bigger, but we have to channel this superpower correctly or it will get in the way and it will be a negative. Just like every superhero has to learn to control their superpowers, we have to learn how to get over the dopamine cliff and the perfectionism wall so that we can create our side hustles and let those side hustles help us have an empowering relationship with money so that it enables us to live the life we've always wanted and rightfully deserve. This has been Shane G. Please, if you've enjoyed this podcast episode and know someone else that it would help, it would be immensely, immensely helpful to me and only take you a few seconds if you share it with someone. Also, if you could, please subscribe, follow, whatever the button says on your preferred podcasting platform. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. It helps me immensely with the algorithms and get out to other ADHDers in need of getting their side hustles off the ground. Until next time, keep hustling and have a great week.